Hi, this is Ian Patrick. I'm going to read another section from my book, of course, How Many Light Bulbs Does It Take to Change? Reflections on A Course in Miracles. This section is called The Truth Hurts. Don't you just hate it when people quote A Course in Miracles to you at the most inappropriate times? A friend of mine used to live in a small Cotswold market town. During one of my visits, the town's annual fun fair was taking place in the main street. On Saturday night we took a walk around, looking at the various attractions. By far the most impressive of the rides was a giant wheel, the Wheel of Hell I later called it, which filled the width of the street. It looked innocuous enough when we first saw it, as it wasn't moving. I even thought that the view from the top would be worth seeing, so we decided to have a go. As we approached, however, the wheel was in full motion and I could hear the screams. Despite a severe case of cold feet, I did not want to provide any grounds for being called a wimp, so I plunged ahead. After all, my fear was not real, my friend reminded me. We were seated in a flimsy cage made of what seemed like nothing more than chicken wire. I was sitting next to the door, which was secured only by a single latch. The cage itself rotated on a spindle attached to the circumference of the giant wheel. Already my pulse was racing. As the wheel was turned to allow subsequent victims to be seated, we lurched forward and upward, leaving my stomach behind. Our cage swung alarmingly as we moved further round, higher and higher. I desperately wanted to get off, but it was too late for that. When everyone was aboard, rotation got fully underway, moderately at first, but rapidly increasing. Our cage was already oscillating wildly, but as the big wheel reached full speed, it turned us in complete somersaults. The forces of acceleration followed by sudden deceleration were extraordinary as we spun around, up, over the top, down, sweeping the ground, often upside down, and up again, inexorably, intolerably, on and on. I hung on for dear life, slumped in my seat with eyes closed. At any moment I expected the cage door to swing open, or the spindle that attached us to the wheel to snap, sending us crashing into the hard, cold stone wall of the bank building opposite, which seemed only inches from our faces. It was one of those occasions when you desperately wish that time, the world, and your life would just stop right there in that moment and allow you to be anywhere else. I was screaming, "Stop, stop! I want to get off!" I hated every second. Presumably those people on the ground thought that we were enjoying ourselves. "Don't worry, it's just an illusion," my friend screamed back. "Your fear is not real." I wanted to kill him. Even the rational thought that this wheel of hell had presumably passed the safety inspection did not ease my terror. Despite my friend's taunts, I was convinced that my fears were justified and I was approaching overload. Other times of sheer terror that I can recall, like jumping out of a perfectly good aeroplane at 2,000 feet, lasted for only a few seconds. This one did not let up. I was treated to a full 5 minutes of unadulterated horror, which felt like forever, before the wheel slowed to a blissful halt, and we staggered, dazed, into the crowd of bystanders. My friend later admitted to having been as petrified as I was. But, in terms of A Course in Miracles, what he was saying was perfectly true. My fear was just an illusion. That fact can be demonstrated by a simple experiment. If I had been fully hypnotised and told to feel no fear, I would not have done so. Fear is not an absolute and immutable result of our circumstances. However, in the midst of my experience, I was not ready to hear that. It is perfectly true that at any moment I could have changed my mind and have been totally at peace. But my belief in and attachment to the reality of my situation and its inherent danger was so great that I did not choose to do so. It was clear that I was attached to my illusory life and the desire not to have my illusory body smashed to a pulp against the wall. I know that my friend was simply engaging in bravado and teasing me rather than trying to be unkind. But it can be tempting to misuse spiritual principles in this way. This kind of level confusion results in increasing the guilt for ourselves and others. Like telling someone dying of cancer that their tumour is an illusion, it is less than helpful. The truth is that we have made the world and its dangers seemingly real. Thus, it is more helpful to give ourselves and others a break until such time as we are ready for metaphysical leaps of faith.